Slick tight. Whoa.
Battle for position here. These guys will do anything to keep somebody behind them. That's one of the Durango cars. Chanduk and Giorgio Pantano. Oh boy, Pantano started 13th, made up a lot of ground. Chanduk started 8th.
I'm amazed we haven't seen more of these cars sliding off on the opening lap. They're all using the hard compound tyre. But they were struggling for grip yesterday, struggling to get heat into the tyres in qualifying. And I expected on this opening lap that they would start to slide off more, but the tyres are now coming up to temp.
A little bit warmer today, I think.
Yeah, by about 5 or 6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Of course, these guys are all on slick tyres as opposed to groove tyres in Formula 1, and they have a slightly different bodywork configuration. They have more tunnels underneath to help the ground effect, which enables them to run closer together to each other.
Silverstone built on the side of a former Royal Air Force World War II bomber base, very much exposed to the wind when it blows. And a scene of so much racing history. Down into Stowe once again.
Oh, here was it.
Luca Filippi alongside Roldan Rodriguez. Down into the Vale.
So Filippi battling for P11 here, but obviously he wants to try and keep his nose clean in this race because he is currently lying second in the championship, so he doesn't want to be eradicated early on by some errant driver.
Christian
Backerud.
Backerud.
Flag waving up for, oh, there's a car parked down there.
Yep, somebody is off. That's Christian Backerud, I was about to say. He is out of the timing and scoring serial. Climbing up through Club. Meanwhile, further up under the bridge and into the final complex, Priory, Brooklands, and Luffield. Love it when they name corners. Down the front straight. Zuber and Conway into Kopp's corner.
Conway needs a good finish here, apart from the fact that he's racing in front of his home crowd. Very successful in Formula 3 last year in the British Formula 3 Championship. So far, he's only got 2 points on the whole year so far.
There's Christian Backerud in the pits. That must have been Suchek stopped on track in the other white and blue flamed DPR car. Another look at the start. A lot of tire smoke from Andrea Zuber off the start. Pit stops are beginning. There is a mandatory stop with tire change in these feature events. Bruno Senna trying to get out of traffic, put fresh rubber on. Felipe Albuquerque has also pitted for Racing Engineering.
Whoa!
Oh! That was Adrian Zaug. That was the car we saw off.
Boy, that was a bit of a scary old move there. That's fast. He's obviously pretty miffed at that.
That was on lap 2. There he is off again. Same picture, obviously.
Whoa.
And with that bridge abutment coming up quickly, getting back on the island was his first priority. On board with Lucas de Grassi. ART Grand Prix, the 2-time defending GP2 team champions, the only team champions the Young Series has yet seen.
Just looking at Timo Glock, who's currently leading the championship, and probably would be leading it by even more if he hadn't had that awful start line crash with his teammate last week in France.
Yeah, he may live to regret that race.
Right.
There goes Glock. Drawing back slightly, Zuber and Conway pulling out a little bit on Degrassi in third.
And Zuber's just set the fastest lap, 31.052, but he's been leading the way. When the lights change now, 29.3 fastest in sector 1 and 2. Conway also setting fast sector line times as well. Those two guys, you say, Bob, leading away now.
It's about 11 seconds down on the faster Formula 1 car times.
Luca de Grassi in the ART car is definitely holding up Glock, and Glock won't be too happy about that because right behind him is Adam Carroll, also racing in front of his home crowd. So he'll be wanting to do well here.
You hear that distinctive engine note, an 8-into-1 exhaust system on these cars.
Oh, Glock's got de Grassi lined up now as they come up the hill to Abbey. De Grassi not giving him much room. He's trying to go around the outside. Oh, this could end in tears. Oh, well.
Got the light. Oh, look at Harate comes. That's Nakajima, sorry. Wow. That was opportunistic. Woo. It's Nakajima in the red and white car.
Carroll got through, and now he's all over Timo Glock.
Red and white car. There's 3 of them. Meanwhile, Zuber and Conway up the road. This is Bruno Senna's stop.
Oh, struggling to get the rear jack in there.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So learning experience for mechanics as well as drivers. This is the Glock pass on Degrassi.
Wow, I tell you what.
Soaring at the wheel.
Degrassi finally gave up and let it through. I could see that being a case of closing the door after the horses bolted and running into each other, but they got away with it.
Boy, and it didn't stop Adam Carroll for 1 second. He was right there on Glock's gearbox as they went through. Nicolas Lapierre pits. Giorgio Pantano pits.
Nicolas Lapierre last week was doing pretty well, and he had that brake failure. We saw him go off with the rear wheels still churning around. And also ran over one of his tyre changes, so no doubt there's been some haranguing in the pits there.
That was a highlight we saw on the speed report. Javier Villa also pitted. Kohai Hirate pitted. So the strategy game will now play out. Do you wait, hope for a yellow flag to make your pit stop with the least track position damage possible? Or do you pit early? Get it out of the way and wait for people to drop off in front of you. Pantano and Lapierre just out of the pits on fresh rubber, usually on the rears. We rarely see them change the front Bridgestones.
Giorgio Pantano there at 28 years old is the oldest driver in the field. The youngest driver is Javier Villa.
Just a teenager.
At 19, right.
Giorgio Pantano, a familiar face to American fans. He's driven in the IRL. Done a little champ car work. Adrian Zaug, the South African pits.
He was the guy that went off early on, got pushed off at Chapel.
Through Woodcote. Onto the front straight, headed for Copse. Field now well underway. 5 laps in the book. 30 to go. There's your top 4. We'll take a break and return with more of the GP2 Championship from England. Welcome back to the GP2 feature race here on Speed from Silverstone in England. Bob Varsha, David Hobbs, Steve Matchett with you. This is Giorgio Pantano with Nicolas Lapierre and Bruno Senna behind him. 19th, 20th, and 21st, having made an early pit stop. Now, Senna was 4th quickest in the final practice for this race, but he spun in qualifying. We know he's got the speed to come forward. Pastor Maldonado, the Monaco winner, is in the pits for his mandatory stop.
But of course, these guys are all terribly, terribly evenly matched on times. And so to get around these two guys who are duking it out could be very, very difficult. On the other hand, of course, he might just catch them both by surprise. They're concentrating each other very much at the moment.
Timo Glock in 3rd place. Fastest car on the track, a 31.9 last lap. The only man in the 1 minute 31 second zone. Pantano just cannot shake the Frenchman Lapierre. These are both very experienced drivers in this series. Because they've made their early stop, they're on fresh rubber, they need to move on up so as to be there when those ahead of them make their stops. As you see, nobody in the top 8 has made a stop yet.
I think they're going to try and leg it away into the distance, the lead cars. Now the pit stop pattern's been created by Senna coming in early on to get his tyres to try and get out of traffic, but instead of which he's dropped back into traffic behind Pantano and Lapierre, who have also stopped.
Pantano and Lapierre, the top 2 of the cars that have already stopped. Questionable strategy, you think? Obviously, there's a lot of runoff here at Silverstone, so the chances of getting a yellow flag, I would think, would have to be fairly slim. Wouldn't you want to save your stop till a little bit later in the race and maybe make a bid for fast lap in the bonus points?
Yeah, it's difficult to know what to do, isn't it? If you pit early, and put the tyres on to get out of traffic. That strategy only works provided nobody else pits early to change tyres.
Provided you do get out of traffic.
And of course, if they all pit at the same time early, then they set their own train up.
9 cars have already made their pit stop. This is Kazuki Nakajima, son of Satoru Nakajima, Formula One driver of note, closing up on Luca Di Grassi. For some reason, Di Grassi moving a half-second or so a lap slower than everyone around him. Now Nakajima heads for the pits. Di Grassi continues despite his hampered pace. Nakajima's done some testing for the Formula One Williams Toyota team this year. Luca Di Grassi, for his part, is a part of the Renault Young Driver program. He is in the pipeline for future Grand Prix stardom with Renault. Di Grassi still slowing down, though. Karun Chanduk, there you see him in the blue and white Durango car, pitted from 8th place. As Nakajima comes back on track. The order is Zuber, Conway, Glock, and Carroll, Di Grassi, Ammermuller, moving up into 6th spot with Nakajima's pit stop. Roldan Rodriguez is now 7th. Luca Filippi will take 8th. Vitaly Petrov, I should say, up to 9th. And Sakan Yamamoto will be 10th. There you see the order.
Ooh, getting a squeeze here to go down to Stowe.
Lapierre going by. Keep in mind the top 8 positions are the points paying positions, just like Formula One. 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And those top 8 finishers will be inverted to set the first 4 rows of the starting grid for Sunday's sprint finale with no mandatory pit stop. Somebody moving slowly.
Who's got going slowly up into Abbey here?
I don't know. These guys are going to catch him at just the wrong moment, though.
Is that Chanduk?
That's Zandy Negrao.
Zandy Negrao.
He's in the Minardi PK car. Michael Ammermuller. Luca Filippi is also pitting the Supernova car. Meanwhile, back on track. See if we get more pit stop action. Pit entry coming up, driver's right. Nope, they all go by.
Back to the lead too. There's Conway, Mike Conway. Timo Glock running 3rd. And right behind him, Adam Carroll.
Uphill over the brow after the bridge turn. Drivers are kind of unsighted at that corner. Can't see clearly where they're going, so they have to know where their turn-in point is. They have to trust the flags if there's somebody out of shape at the top of the hill.
Woo! Whoa!
Oh, too close.
That's up.
Garcia, Ammermuller. Sorry, Karun Chanduk and Bruno Senna.
Bruno Senna just not making the ground through here that I thought he would. It's hard to get around all these guys, I know that, but he's had his pit stop, put his new tyres on, and he's still down in 19th.
Senna trying to duck out from behind Chanduk.
He's making life very difficult for him.
It's not easy. It's not an easy track to overtake anyway, Silverstone.
Look at Di Grassi, pits from 6th place.
This is about the best we've seen Chanduk going.
Trying to get the tear-off strip off. It's been somewhat reluctant.
This is it.
Fairly narrow pit lane.
I wouldn't have thought these guys would want to leave their tires longer.
No, don't cross them out of pitch to get very, very badly spoken to. Do that. Harsh words would come from the team manager.
That tells you how cold the tires are. Zandy Negrao is out. He becomes the 3rd car out of the race, joining Andy Soucek and Christian Baccarud.
Albuquerque standing in for Ernesto Vizo, still down in 22nd spot.
Looking at the cars who have completed their pit stops, Kaz Nakajima got his gap wide enough that he could make his stop, and he got out ahead of Giorgio Pantano. So the Japanese driver is now the leader among the cars who have pitted. We'll see where Luca Di Grassi comes out. From Adrian Zaug's car, looking back at Javier Villa. Well back in the field, 20th, 21st. Now Timo Glock pits from 4th place. Now we'll have to see where he comes out. There's Glock.
Excellent.
Adam Carroll was right behind him and was the fastest man on the track at the moment. So now, I don't know whether Glock thought maybe he could do with some fresh tires to help speed him up a bit, but he's going to have to push like mad now to make sure that he stays in front of Carroll when Carroll makes his tire stop.
Nice work by Glock's crew there during the pit stop to just start those rear wheel nuts by hand. It's so tempting to just put them on with the air gun, but if you do cross-thread them, especially on these GP2 cars, it's very easy to cross-thread. You're in all sorts of trouble. It may take just a couple of seconds longer to start the thread by hand, but that's the way to do it.
Well, that I-14 is a well-drilled crew, and at the top of the show, you heard from the team principal, Paul Jackson, who still, I mean, you could see it in his face, he still could not believe that two drivers contrived to wind up in a smoky heap at the very first corner of last week's race in France.
First corner? They
didn't even get to the first corner.
Got over the grid.
It's difficult enough without taking yourself out like that.
Just astonishing.
Whoa.
Gently, boys.
Side by side into Stowe.
Sakan Yamamoto in the red car. Javier Villa managing to stay in front of him. Mike Conway pits from 3rd. Excuse me, 2nd after the Glock stop.
So the vast majority of drivers now have pitted. Only a few to go. But there's so much lateral loading around here on the tires as well that I think that's going to put that'll be the deciding factor of having to come in and change tires.
Now Zuber and Adam Carroll are the only two front runners, real front runners, who have not stopped. Thing is, will they just keep banging on now until they see their lap times degrade, you know, very much against the guys who have stopped? Or will they just wait for the almost inevitable yellow that comes in a GP2 race?
Well, I don't know. We've seen it so many times in the last couple of seasons here on Speed. You wait too long, pretty soon you reach the point of no return, and as you say, your lap times degrade to the point where you're a sitting duck. If
they start to degrade, they're going to have to make the stop, because by that time, hopefully, the guys who have stopped, their tires will be starting to go off. And of course, if you like Senna, Bruno Senna, who's still down in 18th, you're flogging around on your new tires, you're stuck behind the other traffic, and you can flog all you like. If you can't get by him, you're still wearing them out, and you just it's a no-sum race. You know?
Well, if it were easy, everybody would be a champion.
Ooh,
Andy Zuber.
In.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leaving just 5 cars yet to make their mandatory stops. God, this must take forever.
Oh, it's an incredibly long pit lane at Silverstone.
And narrow. See where he comes out in relation to Conway.
There it is. Good job. Good job.
Adam Carroll assumes the race lead, but he has not stopped. Neither has Vitaly Petrov, who now assumes 3rd place. Okay, past the line, gently on the gas. A right turn on cold tires. Looking for Supernova.
There it is.
Yep. So Zuber stays ahead of Conway.
But Conway's got more heat in his tires.
Yeah.
Going through this very fast complex.
This is his chance because these hard compound tires are a controlled tire by Bridgestone, soft, medium, hard. But you don't get the choice to run what you want around here. Bridgestone make that choice, and all the drivers therefore on hard. Now is the time.
Good toe down there into Stowe.
Conway is a bit of an opportunistic passer. We've seen him have some pretty spectacular offs in the last couple of seasons.
He's a little bit quicker because his tires are still hotter, but Zuber's tires will be coming up to temperature, and if he doesn't grab the opportunity while it exists now,
see if he gets the toe
it'll
here.
be difficult for him to pull it off.
I don't think he's going to do it.
Nope. Meanwhile, back at the Vale. Good.
Pastor Maldonado.
There you are.
That's the winner at Monte Carlo a few weeks back.
It's in the battle for third right now.
Conway is.
So Carroll's got a decision to make now. Just turned his personal best lap, among the quickest on the track, but he has to make a stop. So when does he do it?
Well, his lap times are looking pretty good at the moment. They certainly haven't started to go off yet, but Conway is really giving old Zuber a working over here.
Petrov in second, hasn't stopped. Garcia in fifth and Tahinchi in sixth have not stopped. And they're the only drivers who have yet to make their mandatory stops.
Yes, Carroll's fast, 31.8. Behind him, Petrov, 33.1. So he's setting good lap times around here.
If I was Adam, I think I'd stay out for a bit. We've seen Adam Carroll in the last couple of years on GP2 races has some staggeringly spectacular crashes. Let's hope today is not another one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
From that high shot like that aerial shot, it gives you an idea of just how tight those corners are going into Woodcote. You know, Brooklands, Luffield is very tight. This is Copse, which is not tight, pretty much flat out in these cars.
Here's Giancarlo Fisichella
onto his car.
He's got two of them in the field. Jason Tahinchi is one of them. We'll take a break and return. Still pit stops to come at Silverstone. Back at Silverstone for the GP2 feature race. Borja Garcia pits from 8th place. Timo Glock also in the pit. And that's his second stop for Glock, the points leader. That is not good news, and he is dropping like a stone down the leaderboard. There he is, and he is not going anywhere. Oh, second straight race, a disaster for Timo Glock. While his stock is sinking in GP2, it seems to be rising in Formula One, where he is a key member of the BMW Sauber test crew. The iSport guys wondering what's going on. Paul Jackson on the left, the team principal. Ooh, what a week they've had.
Now,
he's not getting out of the car.
Glock stopping there and just sitting in it. I wonder what is going on.
There's no obvious damage to the car.
And there's
no
nobody going down to see him.
No smoke, no fluid.
Glock also dropped out of the sprint finale at Manicourt, so if he's climbing out now, it'll be his third straight DNF, and a points lead won't take much of that kind of abuse.
Is this some sort of FIA mandated stop?
Well, there's no FIA official standing around the car, which is typical if that happens.
Is that a battery going down the pit lane?
Yeah, it would be a remote starter they're taking down there. But for a drive-through penalty, typically the FIA official stands at the end of the pit lane at the exit. No, I don't know what that's all about.
Okay, now Adam Carroll has not made a stop. Neither is Petrov in second, but the guy Carroll's going to be watching is Andreas Zuber in third, who has stopped, and Carroll's lap times have just dropped under Zuber. Zuber a 31.8 last time by, Carroll a 32.3. His gap to Zuber, 31.9 seconds. Is that enough to get in, get your service, and get out?
That should be enough.
It should be tight here.
Is he headed for the pits? Yes, he is.
Yes.
The leader's in.
Has a 31.9 second lead.
Whoa, trying to slow the car down to the mandated speed limit. Now, please don't rush this stop. Do not cross thread the wheel nuts.
This is Giancarlo Fisichella's team. Fisichella is also beginning. What was that? Are you kidding me?
Those boys need to send their CV to an F1 team.
They barely had time to touch those tires, much less change them.
That's a lap car, baby.
That was Petrov going by to assume the lead.
There, Zuber gets by him.
Oh, is Conway not going to get out ahead of him?
No.
Oh, that's Conway in the yellow and black Supernova car. So Carroll's going to try to deal with him first. I can't believe he didn't get out ahead of those guys.
That was such a quick stop.
It was.
Zuber and Conway did a 31.9 and a 31.8, so they knew that Carroll was in the pits. And they managed to get around before he could get back out. was mentioning that Giancarlo Fisichella, who owns Carroll's car, is also developing a motorsport academy at the Vallelunga circuit in his native Italy to train not only drivers but also mechanics and public relations people and you name it. It's a very ambitious concept. Here's a look at the top 8. Petrov has yet to stop. Who is broken? It's not Maldonado. No, it's Pantano, who was up into 8th place, the final points paying position. A 32.9 his last lap, so he wasn't lacking for speed, but it appears the engine has expired. Meanwhile, Glock still sits in the pit lane.
It looks like they're taking the ECU, the electronics, off the car. Oh dear.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Well, it really is a kablamo. I was going to say it was going to be a minor GP2 kablamo. It's a big one. Mind you, it's only what's that, second engine failure of the year? They're pretty reliable, these V8s, but well, when they go, they really do smoke.
4-liter V8s, Renault based. You're right, they're usually pretty bulletproof.
They are usually pretty bulletproof, you're right.
So Valery Petrov leads, but his lap time's doing a 33.5 as opposed to Zuber's doing a 31.3.
He's got to get in. Jason Tahinchi, meanwhile, pits from 6th place in the other FMS car. It's Nakajima in the red and white car. Luca Di Grassi behind him. See the local yellow for Pantano. This is 5th and 6th. Petrov, Zuber, Conway, Carroll, Nakajima, Di Grassi. See where Tahinchi comes back out. Luca Filippi will move up into 7th. Nicolas Lapierre to 8th. Pastor Maldonado to 9th, and Roldan Rodriguez to 10th. See if Petrov ducks for the pit lane. Slowly through Woodcock. Now he's going to stay out there. Check his lap time as he crosses the timing stripe. A 33.6. So he lost another 10th on that lap. So the Russian is facing the inevitable. He has got to pit soon, yellow flag or not, if he hopes to have any chance of staying in the points. 16 laps remaining at Silverstone in the feature race of the GP2 weekend here on Speed. We'll be back in just a moment. Sweat. Welcome back to Silverstone. There is the somewhat second-hand machine of Nicolas Lapierre of France, who has just exited this GP2 feature event in fairly spectacular fashion. Let's take another look. David, Steve.
Well, this is coming into top corner. Here you see Nicolas Lapierre. As he turns in, the car just suddenly turns left instead of right. Something must... Yes, that left front suspension is deranged. I think his left front suspension broke first.
I think it did. Now as impact into the wall, both the rear suspensions are broken too. But look, the rear wing and the crash structure on the back of the car remains intact. And there's a lot of debris, barge boards and panels flying off the car. The damper cover off the front of the chassis comes loose. So both front suspensions are broken, both rear suspensions are broken. But you're right, David, it's difficult to see from that shot. Did the front break first or the rear?
I don't know. It
didn't appear to sit down on the track before it turned left. But meanwhile, under the yellow flag, Vitaly Petrov pitted. Yeah, I think there was a left front breakage.
Yeah, absolutely there was.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, poor old Nicolas Lapierre. Brake failure last week. Front suspension failure this week, taking him off both times this week at very high speed. He won't be a happy camper with that car.
Pierre has been a teammate to champions in GP2.
Coming into...
Let's take another look at the front suspension on Lapierre's car.
Very high speed.
Keep your eye around here.
See one of his brake ducts pointing up and then just points down suddenly. Upright failure or something.
And the car just turned sharply. You can see their wheels already leaning over.
Yeah, it's already got massive camber on it. So that's the left front suspension broken. Then the rear of the car starts to come round. That's going to clout into the concrete right there. That'll break the left rear suspension.
And the right rear against the concrete.
Boy, that left front suspension was just hanging on by its hair there. before it had hit anything.
Yeah. Now Timo Glock got going again.
Nothing else to change now, is it? What else can we change on the car?
Well, you can
Timo
put some
Glock
fresh
6
tires
laps
on
down now, so
Go for that bonus point for fast lap. It's not over yet. In GP2, you can pick up points even if you're nowhere near the top 8. Bonus point for fast lap if you start the race from the starting grid. You can't go to the pits and plan just on those. Carroll getting off slightly.
well, Adam Carroll, obviously you have to have a moment of thought here, somewhat pensive thought. This is where his teammate's car broke going there, but Carroll's car is fine.
The order is Zuber, Conway, Carroll, all within 5.5 seconds. Then Nakajima, another 10 seconds up the road. Luca de Grassi, Luca Filippi. Drive-through penalty now, we're being told, for Adam Carroll in 3rd place. Yeah. Possibly speeding in the pit lane or some pit stall violation, or, well, who knows what. You see everyone has made their stops.
Worrying time for all the drivers and teams when you have a mechanical failure in a spec series like this.
Yeah,
not
right.
just your teammate, because all the suspension components, you can't change them. And of course the officials will be very keen to look at the car to make sure there haven't been any modifications to any suspension when you have a breakage in a spec series.
Well, look at that difference between shade and sunlight.
So Adam Carroll, one assumes, as he goes through this next complex bridge, Priory Luffield will pull into the pits for his drive-through penalty. We haven't been told what it's for yet, but
Most likely speeding in the pit lane,
Yeah.
that's the most common one. You do have pit lane speed limiters on the car, but of course you have to activate that, and the car still has to comply with the laws of physics and physically be able to slow down before you hit that line, even if you operate the limiter.
What do we have here? Is this a this is a replay of Carroll's violation. Yeah, I think he was probably too quick on entry.
Talking about, you know, complying with the laws of physics, he tried to get it slowed up, but you've still got the mass of the car. Still has to have a certain amount of time to slow down.
Bruno Senna in the trailing car. Curran Shanduk in 11th place. Senna trying to continue his march through the field from the back.
Curran Shanduk, his best finish so far is a 9th in the very first race in Bahrain. So Bruno Senna will be very anxious to get around Curran Shanduk. Shanduk qualified well here, 8th, his best qualifying position by far.
I tell you, the point standings could take a beating in this race if Timo Glock finishes out of the points and without fast lap. I mean, he only had an 8-point advantage coming in. Giorgio Pantano 5th in points, Nicolas Lapierre 8th in points, Bruno Senna 4th in points.
Whoa. 2
of them out of the race, one of them running out of the points right now. We'll see a shuffling in the top 10.
When the pictures, Adrian's out, leading Sakon Yamamoto in the red car. 14th, 15th and 16th with VR right behind them. There you see him. Bruno Senna got alongside Shanduk going into Stowe but couldn't pull it off.
11 laps to go. They flash under the bridge to the infield and up to the top of the hill. There's Adam Carroll serving his penalty. We'll be back in a moment.
Welcome to Ranger Cup.
Welcome back to Silverstone. This could end in tears. 3 into 1 will not go. Oh, Zaug nudging Yamamoto off, and he'll lose 2 more positions. There's Javier Villa and the notorious Felipe Albuquerque going by. And that was for 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Of course, these guys striving to get to 8th, because if you finish 8th today, of course, you start 1st tomorrow.
Have another look here.
Whoa. Yamamoto just dived off.
Better than locking wheels.
Absolutely.
Another
Senna
look.
still over at Shandok, just in front of this trio.
Timo Glock, fast lap of the race after that long stay in the pit lane. The German trying to scramble and pick up any kind of points to preserve his lead in the championship. This is Karun Chandhok and Bruno Senna for 11th place.
Well, I can't believe that Bruno Senna can't get around Karun Chandhok, but he's having his work go. Chandhok goes wide there.
Oh, now he's going to have a go.
Assuming he's not wearing
He
it.
must be able to make it work now.
Well, it's going to be difficult around the outside, but yes, got it. Now he should pull away at a fairly rapid rate of knots.
Michael Ammermuller will be Senna's next target.
So that puts Senna into 11th. Again, striving to get to that 8th position with just 9 laps left.
Senna, the only man to complete every racing lap this year. Contrast that with Andreas Zuber, who is leading a race for the first time this season. He's been out in 4 races before completing a single lap.
Oh, wow.
In position for his first feature race win. Picked up a sprint win in Turkey last year.
Not a good stat, that, Bob.
Well, we saw Adam Carroll head for the pit lane to serve his penalty. As we went to break, he emerges in 6th place. Such was his pace in the early laps of this race. He had that much of a gap.
Well, that is extraordinary that he came out in 6th.
And that would put him on row 2 when they invert the top 8 to set the grid for the sprint race tomorrow. We'll have highlights of that at the end of our program. Through Woodcote onto the front straightaway. It's Silverstone.
Mike Conway's best result of the year by far so far. Well, assuming he finishes second.
That's right. Don't speak too soon. Conway had huge success at this racetrack in Formula 3.
Glock's on another flyer. 29 dead in sector 1. Compare that to Zauber through sector 1 was 29.5, so half a second up on the first sector alone.
Keep in mind, Glock is doing this from about 22nd place. He's got to do a few laps to pass Nicolas Lapierre, who's been out of the race since he crashed. The next lap, Glock will move past Lapierre, but he'll still be 7 laps down to the field. Senna looking down the inside of Ammermuller.
Adam Carroll, after that drive-through, he came out in 6th, which is pretty good, but he's got Maldonado just 1.9 seconds behind him. And Maldonado is going quicker than Carroll. So Adam Carroll is certainly not out of the woods yet.
A 1:30.952 for Timo Glock. But he's a voice crying in the wilderness in terms of scoring major points in this race. Senna backs off a little bit, thinks about it, through the Luffield Stadium complex.
Something dangling on the right-hand side.
Senna sliding around a lot.
Let's have a look on the right flank of Senna's chassis on this shot.
Probably clipped something at some stage. I think it'd be a miracle if he hadn't hit something.
It may have been a trick of the light. I thought I saw something.
Michael Ammermuller, who he's following so closely in the ART Grand Prix car, and his teammate Luca Di Grassi in the second one, just not having the year. The last 2 years they've absolutely cleaned up. Last year, of course, with Lewis Hamilton and Alex Premat, and the year before with Nico Rosberg and Alex Premat, and just this year really out to lunch. And I thought Michael Ammermuller would do a lot better than he has.
Yeah. Coming back from a broken wrist in Bahrain, but
still in all, he just hasn't been that quick.
Shouldn't slow you down. And this is ART Grand Prix we're talking about, the 2-time defending team champions.
Big time.
Yep, they sent Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton on to Formula 1.
First and second both years, I think.
And yet here they are. They haven't let a lap to speak of this year. Six laps to go next time by. On a partly sunny day at Silverstone. Great day for a race, an interesting race we've seen thus far. We'll be back in a moment. Back at Silverstone, 6 laps to go in the GP2 feature race here on Speed. Steve Matchett and David Hobbs. I'm Bob Varsha. This is Bruno Senna chasing Michael Ammermuller, 10th and 11th.
Well, Bruno Senna was far quicker than Ammermuller through the Maggots-Beckett's complex, but then did it all wrong, rushed right up onto him as they came into the Beckett's and had to back off, and was left him way behind going down to Hanger Straight. And this is where he needs to be right on him here.
Well, his uncle, the 3-time world champion Ayrton Senna, only won, what, once at this track at Silverstone. And I'm not sure exactly what that means, but there it is.
But it's a stat.
That's right. I guess Ayrton never quite had it figured out either.
Well, he's obviously much quicker than Ammermuller. I mean, it must be frustrating as all get out, because if he gets around him, he's going to rocket off, but he's got 5 seconds to catch up with Petrov in 9th.
So it's part of the learning process, figuring out how to get by competitors we watch.
And of course, last year, that was the most amazing thing about Lewis Hamilton. At this race here, he won the race on Saturday. He won this long race on Saturday. And then on the Sunday, starting 8th, I mean, he just sliced through the field. And Lewis Hamilton proved last year in GP2 that he was an amazingly good overtaker. And he's done the same. Well, this year, he hasn't had to do any overtaking.
No, not when you qualify the way he does. That's right. That's a good point.
He's only been passed once, and that was last week at the start. And of course, he did do some overtaking in Malaysia, had an amazing start, whistled down the inside of Massa and Raikkonen and his teammate.
Senna's car sliding around an awful lot. Of course, he was so early going into the pits.
He's got the oldest tyres out there. He stopped first. So his tyre's probably getting a bit off. The sun's shining too, the temperature's up. Yeah, this is where he could get him.
As you were talking about earlier on, David, they have got ground effects built into these cars, which will allow Senna to get
much closer than
F1, because they lose less efficiency off the front wing. The front wing still washes away, but these cars are built with ground effects, which will get them close. Ground effects, the underbody styling of the car. Basically, as you can see, the area of the car, the floor of the car between the wheels sits much closer to the track than an F1 car, and the underside is sculpted to create a vacuum underneath the car, so air pressure just forces the car down onto the track.
Using Venturi tunnels.
Yeah.
And that's a concept that could be applied to Formula One cars in the next couple of seasons.
I think it should be, because it does make for closer racing. Now you watch through here, he's much quicker. Then he rushes up onto him right about here, gets too close, has to back off, and then as they come out onto the straight, he's too far behind. But he was a bit better that time. He didn't do it so much. He's
right on his chuff here.
He is. Then of course he has to lift off, loses momentum, so he won't be close as they go into club.
What do you do, Dave? What's he doing wrong? What's the answer? What does he need to do?
Well, he needs
that, presumably.
Jorge Garcia. Trying to figure out where that is. That's down near the pits. He
keeps running up on him and having to back off at the crucial moment. Oh, I think okay.
I think he decided. No, I'm done.
Yeah. That's Borja Garcia.
Yeah, Dave. Anyway, back to the battle.
So the thing is,
what does he do?
He's doing it wrong. He keeps on coming up to him right at the crucial moment, backing off just as leaving the corner, which means that Ammermuller keeps legging it away from him. He's doing the same. Well, he might try and go down the inside here, but Ammermuller's not giving him any room. See, look, he gets right up there. Now he backs off. Just at the crucial time when Ammermuller's legging it down the straight, he's already lifted, and so he loses, a couple of car lengths.
Yeah.
Which of course he can't make up. Oh, yellow flag. That's the yellow flag for Garcia's car, so he can't overtake him here.
Senna hasn't been doing this all that long. Only started racing cars a couple of years ago.
And actually, it's this right here that last year Hamilton made that absolutely amazing pass on Nelson Piquet Jr. and Clivio Piccioni, who we're not seeing this year. Don't know what's happened to him. Run out of money, I suppose. All right, down, Hanger Straight. Got 3 laps to work this out, sunshine. Whoa! Oh, see?
Yeah, see, that's the price you pay when you get it wrong. Meanwhile, Andreas Zuber, well, last lap, he was the quickest man, and in fact, he remains the quickest man on track as a 2.1 second lead over Mike Conway. 16 seconds over Kaz Nakajima. Zuber, Conway, Nakajima, DeGrassi, Philippi, Carroll, Maldonado, and Rodriguez, the 8 points paying positions. Then Petrov and Ammermuller round out the top 10, and then Senna.
This is Senna, big rear slide from the car again.
Yeah. Well, those iSport international cars of Zuber and Glock, obviously Paul Jackson's merry men have got the equation worked out very well. Both cars, obviously Glock's got the fastest lap of the race, and Zuber led from start to finish. They were on the pole and second last week at France, so there was a little contretemps as they left the grid.
Little.
Well, complete screw up, but other than that,
It don't get much worse.
your two team cars running nicely placed first and second on the grid, run right into each other.
Oh man, that was just unbelievable. I can't believe it every time I see it, and I've seen it a lot.
Adam Carroll had a sinking spell. His lap times dropped dramatically into the 33s when everybody else is doing 31s and 2s. In fact, he's just done a 33-1 as opposed to Zuber's 31-6. So really, but Adam Carroll looked like he's having a bit of a sinking spell, but he managed to hang on to that 6th spot. Maldonado was catching up, he's now leveled off behind him, 2 seconds behind him, and Rodriguez is just 6 tenths behind Maldonado.
I wonder if Carroll just got demoralised having to take that penalty in the pits. It just affected his mindset. You can't let that happen.
Whoop, somebody smokes him badly going to the Abbey chicane.
Oh, Senna running out of time.
Senna, take him out.
Final lap.
Short cameraman again.
Of course, at this stage of his career, his uncle Ayrton might have taken somebody out at this point. We tend to forget that the great Senna did his share of using the chrome horn, as they say.
Sure did.
Early in his career. Ready to embark on their final lap.
1 lap to go.
Meanwhile, Andrea Zuber. Not sure exactly what I thought it was too. Nice blue car with a red engine cover. Wow.
That
Zuber.
was his teammate Glock pulling up, was it?
Might have been. Maybe just getting out of the way of his teammate. Glock having locked up fast lap. Andrea Zuber had never won a GP2 feature race until today. On the weekend of the British Grand Prix, he comes through for victory and a top 8 position in the sprint finale. Zuber, the win. Mike Conway finishes second. And unofficially, Kazuki Nakajima will be third. Here he comes. Second generation racer hoping to follow his father, Satoru Nakajima, into Formula One.
That's a good finish for Nakajima.
It is. He'll outdo his father, who never finished on the podium in Formula 3000. In his days of preparing for Grand Prix racing, his son will do him one better and take the 3rd step today. So we'll take a break and return for that podium. And don't forget, coming up later, highlights of the sprint finale here. Formula One British Grand Prix weekend at Silverstone. More GP2 coming up. Silverstone, time for the podium ceremonies. Andrea Zuber will take pride of place in the middle. Mike Conway to the left. Kaz Nakajima to the right. Cue the anthems. Well, in case you were wondering why that didn't sound at all like the Austrian national anthem, it's because it isn't. Although born in Austria, Andrea Zuber runs under the races under the flag of the United Arab Emirates. That was the anthem you just heard.
And Mike Conway very glad with that second spot. He would have rather to have won today, but he's going to start tomorrow in 7th spot. But Mike Conway basically breaking. He had a terrible point score going into this race. He only had 2 points going in. Nakajima looking pretty happy. There's Sears, David Sears.
And as the suits wander off, you can grab the champagne.
Okay, fire. Ready, aim, fire.
Or in the case of champagne celebrations, ready, fire, aim.
And drink, of course, which is what it's all for in the first place.
Big moment for Andrea Zuber.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him.
Making up for last week's debacle.
Well,
debacle.
Get too overheated there.
Good job, boys.
Combined weight of about half the weight of Bob Barsha.
That is cold.
Well, that doesn't include the cups, of course.
See if I ask you for your thoughts the rest of the way in this show, baby. We'll take a break and return. Well, some of us will return. Some may have lost their seat. Welcome back. There's a beautiful look down on Silverstone Circuit, site of round 8 of the GP2 weekend. Let's take a look at the results of the feature race with highlights of the sprint finale coming up in a moment. Gentlemen.
High Sport take another winner with Andrea Zuber. Mike Conway, good run for him, the English driver in front of a home crowd. Kaz Nakajima for Dams, Lucas de Grassi for the ART Grand Prix team, Luca Filippi for Supernova, Adam Carroll for FMS also in front of a home crowd, Pastor Maldonado, winner at Monte Carlo, Roland Rodriguez for Minardi, and Vitaly Petrov, the Russian driver, for Campos.
And these runners 10 down to 18. Michael Ammermuller in the ART car finishes 10th, and right behind him Bruno Senna for Arden in 11th position. Adrian Zaug 14th for Arden also.
Second Yamamoto there, Jason Tahinchi from Turkey, Borja Garcia, Timo Glock, current points leader, but losing ground fast.
And now let's turn to the highlights of the 24-lap sprint finale to wrap up the weekend. Roldan Rodriguez slow away from pole. He gets swallowed up by Pastor Maldonado, Luca de Grassi, and Adam Carroll, and it was a close battle for second down into Copse.
Yes, Adam Carroll on the outside there on board with Lucas de Grassi. We've been through Copse into maggots, and Adam Carroll snatches that second place away from him. Here's a look at the restart again. Watch for Zaug at de Grassi in the middle there. And on the right of the picture is Adam Carroll going down the grass, both of them squeezing out Roldan Rodriguez. Later on in the race, Timo Glock running 15th. You see him there in the blue car there, Timo Glock.